See our Savior hung between two thieves. Hear the soldiers mock his name. See his followers as they cry in disbelief. This could not be the reason he came. See him realize that his life is through. Feel the love burn from his eyes. Behold the temple veil as it is torn in two. Hear the one on Calvary as he cries,
Get that crumbs before it needs it.
I've done the work I came to do, paid in full. I paid love's final price for you. When all hell tries to tell you that you'll never win, just remember that the debt for your sin is paid in full. See his children torn between two ways. Some still choose to mock his name.
Yes.
Hear his followers now as they can boldly say, we are the reason that he came. See the ones who trust themselves alone to do what only Christ can do. Through Jesus' blood alone, we may approach the Father's throne and hear the words that he still calls to you. Paid in full, I've done the work I came to do. Paid in full, I've paid love's final price for you. When all hell tries to tell you that you'll never win, just remember that the debt for your sin is paid in full. I've done the work I came to do, paid in full. I paid love's final price for you. When all hell tries to tell you that you'll never win, just remember that the debt for your sin is paid in full.
Yes.
Just remember that the debt for your sin is paid in full.
Do you want a piece? I'll give you your piece. I'm going to take it in.
I'd like to see what's ahead of me. I'd like to know the road beneath my feet. But it's uncharted. It winds and bends, calling me on to go. Go where he sends, but it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do when you're a stranger. And you're passing through. I'm walking on mercy. I'm walking on trust. I'm walking on a firm foundation of His love. I'm standing on a promise that can't go wrong. Walking by faith, walking in grace. I'm walking on. I climb mountains that seem so high. I never thought I'd reach the other side. I crossed rivers so rough and deep, with the currents so strong. I thought I wouldn't have the strength that I found it. It was not my own. I know it's Jesus that helps me carry on. I'm walking on mercy. I'm walking on trust. I'm walking on a firm foundation of His love. I'm standing on a promise that can't go on. Walking by faith, walking in grace. I'm walking on. I'm walking on mercy. I'm walking on trust. I'm walking on a firm foundation of His love. I'm standing on the promise that can't go wrong. Walking by faith, walking in grace. I'm walking on. I'm walking on. I'm walking on.
All right, anybody else here? Now Bernard was just getting up to let her sit down. Yeah, we would. All right, Bob, come right on. And, I know he's going to preach for us, and I figure he'll tell us a little bit about the ministry, but I figure whichever one he wants to do first.
He was a preacher?
Well, it's good to be here again. Paid in full. Yes. I guess there's much more I can say, is there? Amen. As I was sitting there this morning thinking, the stage used to look so big. Brother Keith, I remember we had a Christmas play up here, and me and Wayne, I don't know, we were what, probably 6, 7, maybe. We were in this area right here having a fight. I'm thinking, that's not a whole lot of room. But now, it doesn't seem so big anymore up here. It's funny how perspectives change as you get older. I also found out tonight, I didn't bring a jacket with me. Didn't bring a tie with me. So I went to Dad's closet and I found a tie that matched my shirt. And I was looking for a jacket. And I thought, surely Dad's got a jacket I can wear. But I found out something. It's taken me almost 50 years, but I've now outgrown my dad. But I'm not so sure that's a good thing. It's amazing the changes that happen as you get older. Yeah. I also went off from the house and left my glasses there as well. I've only had glasses for, I've had glasses for a long time, but I just recently went from having reading glasses to the progressive lens, which, takes several weeks to even get used to. Yes. You're walking around and start with going, but I still forget to pick them up every once in a while. And last week at work, I went in, and they also change, when you're out in the sun, they get dark, you come in, they get lighter, so I come in from work, and normally by the time I get out the door to my desk, they've lightened up. And I'm sitting there, and I'm typing away, thinking, well, these things are sure staying dark a lot longer than normal today. Yeah, so I kept typing. It's like, these things just are not getting light. I don't know what the deal is. And I pull them off, and it's like, oh, I grabbed my sunglasses this morning. So, I don't know if that's a sign that I'm getting older, or if I'm just, losing it all together. I don't know.
That too.
But I am thankful for this church. I'm thankful for those who have persevered all the years. I know there's been good years and there's been not so good years. But you know what? The Bible doesn't say that we're to only walk when things are good.
That's right.
We're not to just follow Jesus when things are good.
Right.
We're supposed to follow him no matter what. Yeah. Because he said, you know what? Down here, it's not going to be so good. He said, if they hated me, they're going to hate you.
That's right.
And so I am thankful for those of you that have stood with it throughout all the years. I look around and there's many that I looked up to growing up. I grew up here, and it's always a blessing to come back home. And I want to just tell you a little bit about the ministry and what's going on over the past year. Back in the spring, we helped, there's another group, this guy I met on the internet. He came on and wanted to friend me on Facebook, and so I was checking around and seeing all the ministry stuff that he was doing. Then I met him a couple of years ago while I was in Moldova, and he works with youth. And back in the spring, they did an outreach program to women. And you say, now, how can youth do outreach to women? Well, in most of Europe, anytime the UN has some day for this or day for that, most all the countries over there, they somewhat support those things. Well, in the spring, there's an International Day of the Woman. And so on that day, they had went out and purchased a bunch of flowers, and they had little cards made up, and they just went out and had the kids take these out and just hand them out to women on the street. And so we were able to help provide some money to do that. And he was telling me a story. He said, you wouldn't believe. He said, there's this one lady that would give a flower to, and said just all of a sudden, she started weeping. And he said, this is a lady, she's 60, 70 years old. And he said, so I got to talking to her. And she said, you know what? This is the first time in my life anybody has ever given me a flower. Something as simple as handing out a flower.
Right.
And I thought, it's great to be a part of ministry where people think far enough ahead to think of different ways to get the gospel out. They were able to pass out Bibles and different things like that during this time as well. And so it's great to be a part of a work like that. In June, we took our second trip. As a group, our second trip. This was my 12th time to be in Moldova. And in case some of you are unfamiliar with Moldova, it's a little bitty country that's in between Romania and Ukraine, completely landlocked. And it's the poorest country in Eastern Europe. But I was able to go with my 3 oldest kids again, a couple of my nieces, and kids from a homeschool group went. And we had a theme for this year. And the theme was Sunt iubit. And you're going, I don't have a clue what you just said. Evelyn asked me this morning, I had to have a little bracelet on, it's red and white. And she says, what does that say? And so I told her, I said, that stands for I am loved. And we passed these out to the kids when we went in June, to let them know that there is somebody that loves them. Because when you're from a very poor country, where your parents may run off, go out of the country to work, and may never come back to pick you up, or they may never come back to do anything with you again, and you're just left for the state to take care of, or you're left for your grandparents who may be alcoholics to take care of you. it's something to know that somebody loves you.
Amen.
And it was amazing because I got to watch some of the kids that were there the previous year when we were there, got to see my kids that were with me when they came in, and they come to the Vacation Bible School, and they got to see the kids back for a second time. I mean, it's one thing when somebody goes one time, but when you come back, that means, hey, you really do care.
Yes.
And so to see some of their faces when they saw the kids and ran up to them and hugged them, and so it was great to be able to do the outreach like that. We went up to the home that we purchased the first week, and the kids got to work real hard for a few days up there. We tried to do some cleaning up around the place there. We did an outreach in that village. There had never been a Christian outreach there. There's not an evangelical church in the village. The only church there is the Russian Orthodox Church. And everything was very well received. And it's amazing that when God's got his hand on something, the things that can happen.
Yes, amen.
Before we left, there was a lady, she does the social work in that village. And she kept coming up and saying, I want you to come see where I work and different things. And we showed a video on that Friday night, and her husband came out and sat there and watched this children's video. And she said, come before you leave. So before I went with another guy, and he was interpreting for me. And we went, and she was showing us around where they have a kitchen and an area where they feed the older people who are very, very poor and very poor children. And she was talking to him about how the mayor, they don't really get along real good. He's promised them money for fixing up different things. And she was telling how the lights didn't work. And I asked him, I said, well, what's wrong with the lights? I said, is it, can't pay for electricity, or, the wiring's bad, what's wrong with the lights? And so he asked her, and she pointed up, and she said, the light fixtures need to be replaced. Well, I looked, and there's only 4 in this room. And I said, well, how much can it cost to replace the light fixtures? And so he asked her, and he said, well, about $35. And I said, here, tell her to go buy some light fixtures.
Yeah.
But from that time until we left, it was just thank you, over and over and over and over. And, I think God is going to use that in the future to allow us to go back in and to be able to do some more things. In fact, on December the 26th, Pastor John is going to be taking a group up from his church and doing a Christmas program and an outreach on the 26th. They're going to do a program for the kids, and then they're going to give out some packets of food for some that they've already worked with her and identified like 5 very poor older people who they're going to give some food to, and then some families with children that they're going to give some food to. And so they're going to be working with Natasha, who lives there in the house, and doing that on December the 26th. While we were there, it was the first time that I've been able to participate in a baptism service there. One thing you have to realize is, here somebody comes to the altar, they want to be baptized. I mean, it's, get them saved, get them dunked, send them on their way just as quick as possible. And it's not quite the same there, because one, they want to make sure you're serious, because the other thing is, if you're not serious, it's probably not going to last very long, because you're going to run into persecution. Your family can disown you if you start attending the Christian church instead of the Orthodox church. I know of different people who were kicked out of their homes because they became a Christian and started going, to the Baptist church instead of the Orthodox church. And so it's a very serious matter, but yet it's a big celebration. I mean, they invite all kinds of people out to come out for the baptism service. And this one was very special because Anna, the girl that we started helping the year before, I was able to help baptize her.
Amen.
And
thank you, sweet Jesus.
Probably, I don't know, back in the this spring, not long before we went there in June, I talked with on Skype, and one day I was talking to her and I said, you know, I'm real proud of you. And I got a reply I wasn't expecting, quite honestly. And the reply was, why? And you know, sometimes you say something and you're not really prepared to give an answer for what you just said. And so I typed back and I said, well, you know, I'm proud of you, you know, for the way you help serve in the church, for the way that, you know, you take care of your mom. And I just listed a whole bunch of different things that I was proud of her for. And there's just a long pause. No response. And I'm thinking, okay, did I not get something translated just right? You know, Google's really good, but sometimes Google Translate doesn't always work the best in the world. And so I'm translating through that, and so I waited, and finally she came back. She said, nobody's ever told me that before. And so we went on, and we were finishing up, and I told her, well, you know, I need to go back to work. My lunch hour's over. With the 8-hour time difference, I can usually take my lunch hour and, you know, get on Skype with some different ones in Moldova at times. And she said, well, I just want to thank you. She said, I've never known what a father's love was like until you came along. And I'm thinking, I haven't done that much. But here's this girl. She's never had a dad. She's never known her physical dad. All she's known is her mom all of her life. She came to the church through the homeless ministry. You know, when we were there the year before, we went out to the dump. I think I told you about that story. But yet, she's telling me that she's thanking me because she's never known a father's love before. And I'm thinking, how much more are we supposed to show the world our Heavenly Father's love? I mean, that's what we're supposed to be about.
Bless you, man.
We're supposed to be about doing what Jesus did while he was here. We're supposed to continue that on. And so that made it just even, you know, that much more special to be a part of the baptism service. Something else that was very special about that is there was another girl who was younger than Anna. She was 17. Yet there was another lady who was 70 that got baptized at the same time. So we had 17 and 70.
Amen.
And this lady, her daughter was there, and she got up to testify, and the tears were coming down, and she says, I want to just tell you and remind you, don't ever stop praying. Mm-hmm. She said, I've prayed for my mom all these years, and now at 70 years old, I get to see her baptized. Mm-hmm. And I thought of Grandpa, all the years that we prayed for him, all the years, I mean, the number of years I prayed wasn't near as many as Grandma prayed. Right. But God's faithful.
Amen.
So we were able to do that. And the other thing that was really special was the pastor John, his wife Oksana, works at a home where they get women out of sexual trafficking and bring them in, and they try to get their lives straightened up. And the year before, a couple of those girls had come to the vacation Bible school and helped with the cooking and everything. And so I told the kids I wanted to do something special for them. And so we went and bought flowers. Had something funny that I never had buying flowers before, but we went in and I told John, I said, okay, let's get, 2 red roses to give to these girls. And so he told the lady that was there at the little flower shop, and she stopped, and I could tell she got kind of this funny look on her face. And she said something. I said, what'd she say? She said, who died? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I said, I forgot that when somebody dies, you get 2 flowers. Now, I don't know what the significance of 2 flowers was. I said, never mind, get 3. And so we got flowers, and there's a song that I had heard. There's a group called Mercy Me, and they got a song called Beautiful. And so I took the words to that song and had them translated and put on a card. And so I give them these flowers and that card. And then I was asked to, do a little devotional type thing. And so I told the story about the woman at the well. And I said, and I told them about that. And I didn't know. I saw there were several, that had tears. And there was one lady, she was, we were praying and she was just crying. And come to find out, it's a lady that actually works there. And as soon as the prayer was done, she went into another room, and Oksana went back with her. And I thought, did I say something wrong? Or, And come to find out, there were some things that she was going through in her life at the time that even Oksana didn't know about. And, it's not what we do, but as long as we'll put ourselves in a place to be used by God.
Right.
Amen.
It's not the words that I say.
Amen.
I'm not that eloquent. I get tripped up on my words sometimes, but I think if we'll just allow God to use us and be put in a place that He can use us, too often,
Amen.
we're in a place in our lives that God can't use us. Just this past week, I sent some money over for Anna to buy some wood for her and her mother. The 2 coldest months are coming up, and I was talking to her, and she was telling me she does have a job now, but she doesn't make that much. And so I was just kind of asking her how things were going, and she was telling me that she'd been out trying to cut some wood, which, to us, out cutting wood means, you go get a chainsaw and you go out and cut a tree down. I'm glad that I'm past that point now. I've got boys big enough to do that for me. But over there, cutting wood means, and you can ask the kids, because when we cleaned up around the house up there, you don't throw anything away. So every little branch was broken up and plowed up to be used in the winter, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant it's used. Does that remind you of God?
Yes.
I how many of us were so small, so insignificant, but yet God can use us anyway?
Yes.
But, so she was telling me she was going out in the woods and trying to cut some wood to stay warm. And so we were able to do that for her. Also, Natasha, she's doing well. She's living in the home now. She had some health issues. And for us, have a health issue, we run to the doctor. The doctor, takes us in, or if we go to the emergency room, they take us in and they see what's wrong, and they give us some medication and something to get us well, and we're on our way. But Natasha showed up at the hospital, had a very high fever, and they wouldn't even see her because she didn't have any money on her. Because there, you got to pay for the service before you get the service. And so, with no money, they sent her back to the house. And so we were able to help. When I found out that she was sick, we were able to get some money. And now there's something that, because she's an orphan, John was able to work out that they paid so much money, and if you want to call it insurance, at least she doesn't have to pay ahead of time if she has to go to the hospital. So we were thankful for that. We added a gate and a first section of fence around the house. One of the things that she was telling us was that she was having a hard time because other horses and cows from the village were getting into her garden. And since the garden that's what she's eating through the winter, is what she put up from her garden. We want to help her to take care of that. We're still praying for a full-time Christian social worker to go and live in the house. Because before we want to add additional girls to the house, I want to make sure that we have somebody there. And you know how when you add 2 people who don't, didn't, even if they grew up together, they, don't always work well with each other.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that we have, somebody there to help them to grow in the Lord and to teach them. And then the other thing is we're hoping to be able to start a church there. Like I said, there's not an evangelical church in that village. And the other thing is, in probably if you have this village at one side in a 10-mile radius, there's probably 30,000, 40,000 people, but there's not an evangelical church in that area. So that's something that we're looking at doing. The other thing that has happened is, as of December 1st, this is something that I've been praying about for a long time, but as of December the 1st, I now have nonprofit status for Partnering for Hope Ministries. So I'll be able to take donations directly and get set up to where people can donate off the internet and different things like that. So that's been something I've been praying about for a long time.
Amen.
If you've got your Bibles, one of